All right, hello and welcome to another edition of the Rhythm Rundown with myself, Josh Applebaum, and my partner in crime, my fellow wise guy, Mr. Cade Harper. Cade, we got a lot to get to, as we always do on a Thirsty Thursday, because we have a huge Thursday Night Football showdown here. Obviously, the Vikings and the Chargers are going at it. This one's interesting because it's a tough one for me, Cade. The betting market is telling me one thing, and then Rhythm is kind of telling me the other. So we're going to walk through this game from a data-driven perspective, obviously from a rhythm perspective. And I want to ask you, Cade, we've kind of touched on this before, but what do you do when basically your analysis goes against rhythm? You know, do you kind of side with yourself? Do you side with rhythm? Do you lay off because there's a conflict there and not a clear play? But huge Thursday night football game tonight. There are a bunch of prop bets, including another star wide receiver that Rhythm likes to go under this prop. And Cade, you give me a star wide receiver, everyone's playing the over. You go on Twitter and all the sports books are reporting their most heavily bet play is on this star player's over. That sounds like a real good angle to go under. And then a lot to talk about on this upcoming week. I want to talk about the Packers and the Steelers game on Sunday Night Football because that's one of my favorite games. It's moving, and we have a really good contrarian opportunity. We have a great betting system match as well as a good rhythm edge. Bills and Panthers, kind of a gross one, but that one also lines up with the betting market and with Rhythm's predictions. And then I want to pick your brain in college with BYU and Iowa State, my number one system match of Fade the Trendy Dog play, and then Ole Miss and Oklahoma. You might think that line's too high, but I'm thinking that might be right where it should be in a buy low, sell high play. But Cade, how are you doing, my man? And then also, you brought us a lot of luck last week because not only did you go to the game and you said to yourself, hey, I texted you before. I'm like, dude, you sure you want to do the Rhythm Rundown? Because you can take a night off. You know, you're going to the game. Go have fun with your boys. But no, you did the live stream in the car and you brought us a great deal of analysis and luck because we had Bengals plus 5.5. Rhythm had it closer to a 4-point game. Obviously, the Bengals won the game outright and covered the number. And oh, by the way, our guy Pat Fryermuth, we highlighted the over 14.5 receiving yards. Rhythm predicted 33.7. He landed on 111 there, Cade. So how you doing, brother? How's your week been? And thank you for bringing us some good juju with the Bengals there.
Yeah, it's been a good week. That was one of the best games that I've ever been to, hands down, in terms of just football games, period. That was awesome. Atmosphere-wise, it was nuts. If you guys haven't been to an NFL game, highly recommend. That was my first one in a pretty long time. But as for the last week, very good. Personally, I'm up 10 units on the last week, so I'm hoping to keep myself rolling. Yeah, keep the train rolling. I'm doing a little challenge with my sickos for college football with 49 days of consecutive football right now for my Conference USA freaks. I know there's one tonight that nobody's going to be tuning into except for me probably. But
wait, so South Alabama, Georgia State, you got to play on this one tonight?
I'm on Georgia State. I'm taking the other 1-6 team or 1-5 team, whatever it is.
Well, Cade, what was it a few weeks ago? I was all focused on NFL, and you threw out, I think, was it Kennesaw State or was it some team?
Yeah.
Where you threw it out there. I'm like, damn it, that was such a sharp play. I didn't even notice it. But that's Cade. That's why we love having you on the show, man, because you're going to point out some of these games that maybe we're overlooking, or maybe I'm overlooking, or our viewers are overlooking. But the beauty of betting and sports betting is that you cash a big ticket on maybe the Thursday night football game with Chargers and Vikings. It's going to pay out that same money that would pay out on a Georgia State, South Alabama ticket. So that's great to see. But before we get into all the games here, Kate, let me ask you, you're doing great. You're crushing your bets. You're up 10 units on the week. How do you manage your bankroll? Like if you're doing really well, do you just keep grinding it and saying, hey, I'm doing great. I hope I continue to do great, but I know in the back of my mind, sports betting's hard. Maybe I always worry, Cade, when I'm hot, that there's going to be a cold streak coming. That's just the way betting goes. So how do you manage your bankroll? Are you a Kelly Criterion? Are you a flat better? When you're doing well, do you risk more? How do you handle the good problem, which is doing well? And then how do you handle when you're struggling and you're bleeding units?
Honestly, you just got to be confident enough, basically, like not necessarily to overload your entire bankroll on a slate in a sense. Maybe you might want to go lighter just to kind of get a feel for things. But yeah, to me, it's just a confidence rating thing. Like it doesn't change. If I'm as confident as I was in a bet yesterday, I'm not going to go lighter because I lost yesterday. That's just what the model's given me. And obviously that's the industry, but stuff happens, of course. You just stay the course and kind of ride it out. But yeah, I mean, it's tough because I've definitely been contemplating about upping unit sizes, and I'm trying to be really careful about getting really greedy. But yeah, I don't know. We'll figure something out.
Yeah, I think it's a great point because again, it's up to you as the sports bettor. Like I'm of the opinion, I'm like a long-term guy. I'm just like, hey, if I'm hot, I'm worried I'm gonna get cold. And then the other thing, Kate, is like, and I don't want to jinx you right now. So if I do jinx you, you can blame
No.
me. But once you like say you're up 10 units, or once you say like, oh, I'm 10-1 my last plays, I feel like that's the kiss of death. So I actually try to be super quiet when I'm hot and I just try to say nothing and
That's
just hope
fair.
that I continue to, fly under the radar there. And for me as a flat better, I wrote about this in my book, the NFL Sharp Betting Playbook. Usually it's like the summer when I'll reassess my bankroll. Like I will grind all year long. And then when it's only baseball, when I'm getting ready for football to return, when there's no other sports going on but MLB and WNBA, okay, let's see how I've done. If I grew my bankroll $500 from last year, hey, I'll increase my 3% per play. If I struggled, I'll dial it back. But I think the one thing you don't want to do is just be loosey goosey. Like you're hot, okay, let's bet more. Oh, you're cold, okay, let's
Right.
bet less, because that's when you kind of get into some trouble here. So again, to me, just being responsible with your bankroll obviously is super important. Kate, I want to ask you, put you on the spot here a little bit, because I feel like if we don't mention it, we're missing an opportunity here, because obviously the huge news came out here today with Chauncey Billups, Terry Rozier, this incredible, betting scandal going on where, of course, we already knew about Terry Rozier. We knew about Jonte Porter. Terry Rozier, to me, committed the ultimate just stupid sin of like making it so obvious. And there's all these clips on the internet now of like, oh, look at him just like literally throw the ball to the other team. Look at him like miss a jump shot by 10 feet. Like he clearly tanked his player props there. And now there's a whole conversation about, do we ban player props? Is there a minutes limit where a player prop doesn't count unless the guy plays 15 minutes? Like this is a big topic of conversation today. I woke up and how much of a loser I am, Cade? I watched the entire press conference with the FBI director, the state attorney, all these things. I thought it was kind of fascinating. And then, of course, Chauncey Billups being tied with the mafia. This was straight out of The Sopranos, Cade, like these underground poker tournaments. And he's the one that is quote unquote, I think they call him the face card to draw people in and then dupe them with all these, hidden cameras and x-rays under the table. I'll just give you my short and sweet angle. Everyone's saying this is terrible for sports betting. Everyone is worried that this is going to, cause some kind of seismic shift and people now want to ban betting. I'll go the other way. I think this actually proves that the oversight is working. It proves that, hey, if this was prior to legalization in 2018, I'm sure this happened, but we never heard about it. Now that it's been brought out of the shadows, all these legal sports books are reporting to the leagues when they see suspicious activity. And also, it tells you that the oversight is working, because these things were flagged almost immediately and reported. So again, to me, that tells me that, hey, this isn't, backyard Tony Soprano bookie type stuff going on. This is brought up in the open. We're identifying it quickly. And almost in a way, I look at it as, hey, this is a good sign that legalized sports betting is catching these things very quickly. So, Kate, any thoughts on this big NBA betting scandal?
It's really, I want to say I'm not surprised, or that I'm surprised, but I'm really not at this point, just because it's one of the reasons that I don't bet on that one sport, to be honest with you. Like I don't know. I got beef with that league. Um it's been a legitimate like movie. It's weird. Like I don't like any doubt about it, of course. And one of the things that like makes the community, I think, look bad in a way. So I think our job as like content creators or as just relative routine betters that just you just do it for the game. That's it. I don't, because I the stigma around it, it's been growing, how it's ruining sports as a whole. It's just, yeah, I don't know. I'm not agreeing with any of it. It's weird. I like, and like you said, yeah, I think it's going to open up a lot of eyes. And moving forward, I hope obviously something changes. But yeah, that was just an all around crazy morning for sure.
Exactly. And I think too, like, I know we want to get to these games, people want to get the breakdowns and everything, but the last thing I'll say is like, what dawned on me, Cade, is that like point shaving and like throwing games and all this kind of stuff, it's always about playing worse or hitting these unders. Like you never see suspicious activity on overs. Like think of it
Right.
that way. There's never a
Right.
player who's going to go to his buddies, hey, hammer my over points tonight because I'm going to try really hard and I'm going to make all my shots. Like that never, ever happens. So to me, if you are a sports betting operator, and the FBI director, one of the people said, and I think they agreed, like someone questioned them and they were like, what do you think about the sports books role in this? Like, and you would expect him to say, oh, they dropped the ball, yada, yada. They're part of it. They're implicated. He said the sports books were victimized, which I think is true because, hey, they're putting up these numbers and they're getting duped by insider information. So to me, it's kind of simple. You really can't throw or point shave an over. You can really only do it to an under. So let's monitor all these player props and let's figure out, hey, if we get a ton of weird money coming in on a random no-name guy to his under, or even someone popular in a small amount of time, all this money's flooding under, that's an automatic red flag. So I think there's kind of in a way, an easy way to kind of just focus on that moving forward. But anyway, Cade, let's talk about this one for tonight because I'm going to focus on kind of a theoretical, what do you do when you and your kind of homework disagrees with Rithmm? Because I think it's a really tough situation here tonight. Now, the reason why I say that is Vikings Chargers. Obviously, huge game here tonight. My view of the betting market tells me to take Minnesota plus 3.5. And my thought process there is the public's on the Chargers. About 60% of spread bets are taking LA. LA did move up -3 up to -3.5. But a lot of those 3.5s are now gone. You're seeing this line get back down to 3. There's only a couple hooks left in the market. We have seen a really good bet split at Circa in Vegas, which caters to smart money. Right now at Circa, only 32% of bets, but 76% of dollars are on the Minnesota Vikings. You also look at primetime dogs. They've really, really cooked this year. They're 15-7 against the spread, 68%. They're 54% all the way back since 2020. Justin Herbert is below 500 as a favorite laying 3 or more. You look at a lot of these stat categories. Vikings have the better offensive, defensive scoring, and the Chargers have a lot of injuries on their offensive line. So I don't know if you've seen anything about Joe Alt, but he's questionable. They already lost Rashawn Slater, and now you're going up against Brian Flores, who blitzes a lot, and you would have to be assuming he's licking his chops here going against this really banged up offensive line. So my analysis of the market is contrarian, primetime dog, lines coming back to the Vikings. I'm looking at the 3.5. However, when I focus on what Rithmm is predicting here, Rhythm's kind of going the other way. So if we look at the Rithmm prediction for this game tonight, and we find the model is telling us actually to take the Chargers. So I have 2 system matches, both on the Chargers. They're both caution flags, so they're not green star smart signals recommended plays, but the first one has Chargers -4.5. So that is an edge on the 3, and Chargers -4.9. So Rithmm is telling me take the Chargers. Betting market is showing liability on the plus 3.5 with the Vikings. So I'll defer to you, Cade. What do you do when your analysis, your numbers go against Rithmm? And in particular, this play tonight, which side are you leaning?
I'd say do a little bit more digging. Obviously, I think there's a little bit more than just a model. There's obviously tons of rankings out there. There's tons of injury reports. There's tons of power ratings. Anything that you can think of is at your fingertips more than just a simple point prediction that has a caution signal next to it. And at that point, it's going to determine of which injuries outweigh the other, or which rankings outweigh the other, or even, or even like a pure, whether it's a gut feeling, whether it's something else, whatever it is. I mean, there's a little bit more to it, obviously. It's not easy kind of thing when Rithmm gives you that kind of thing, because it's definitely, you got to do a little bit more on your end, but that makes it more enjoyable, I guess. It makes you feel a little bit more accountable. So
yeah, I would say too, Cade, like at least in my case, if I'm leaning Minnesota 3.5, I hate to go, and I know you do too, to go up directly against a smart signal. So there's no smart signals on the Chargers here. Again, they're both recommending Chargers, but even though you're getting a good edge there, it's not a green star play. It's not a smart signal. So that makes me feel a little bit better. Like if this was a green star recommended Chargers, I would feel pretty bad if I was going to go plus 3.5 here. Personally, just transparency, I did take the Vikings plus 3.5, but I certainly will admit that makes me nervous that Rithmm is kind of telling me to go the other way. Cade, what's your take on this game just from a betting perspective? Did you play the dog plus the points? Did you get the hook? Did you get a better number? You're the king of getting better numbers, my man. So luckily we did get Penn State over the weekend, and I know you got
True.
your plus 10 there, which was
I
nice.
don't
And I got
even-
my
yeah.
3.5, so we're all happy there. They lost by 1. But do you have a side on this Thursday night game?
I do. I think if you like the Chargers, you definitely missed out. Obviously, that 2.5 kind of got jumped up pretty quick. Now it's got to that 3 and a 3.5. I think it completely changes my opinions. To me, it's just a personal spot, or it's a situational spot, I should say. Since week 1, I've done a little bit more reading, like you said, on the game, just strictly because of the Rithmm caution signals. But since week 1, the Chargers haven't really impressed me as much. They kind of look same old and have been decently underwhelming for the most part. Of course, you add in those injuries effects, and they're decently banged up for the most part, and rightfully so. I do expect them to turn things around once they get some key additions back. But as for Minnesota, I'm at their side of the injury excuse. They've actually gotten healthier. They've gotten some people back, including Aaron Jones was probably the main one today. My main concern for Minnesota is going to be Carson Wentz. 7-0 all-time straight up on Thursday night. If he limits his mistakes, they should have zero problem covering that number, much less winning it outright. And to me, those teams are extremely close to being evenly matched in this line. I can't really say that it's justified, to be honest, because Minnesota's at 22nd in DVOA. Chargers are at 23rd. Chargers obviously have an O-line injury issue, which is one problem because you're facing Brian Flores, who excels in getting to the quarterback and blitzing. Lastly, for Herbert, I'm having mixed signals with this guy. I don't want to say that he's a part of the elite crowd just yet. I might burst some bubbles here, I'm not going to lie, but it's not really all that pretty. Because honestly, if anybody can guess who's above Herbert and EPA per play plus completion percentage over expected, it's Carson Wentz. Who's also behind Baker Mayfield and Matthew Stafford, who have both been playing phenomenal MVP caliber seasons thus far as well. But now to the number, of course, I have Vikings plus 3.5. Chargers home advantage is one of the most overvalued characteristics in sports, period. Like, this team has zero home field advantage no matter what. I can't justify it. On the road, Herbert himself, 26-16 straight up, but at home he's only 20-21. That's no bueno. So nonetheless, I think I'm going to take the points with the Vikings at 3.5 with the hook. I think it's very important in this case. Did take them on the money line as well. But yeah, I think that's kind of where I stand.
Yeah, great points by you. Again, if you're playing the Chargers, or the Vikings, I should say, you got to find the hook. Always scroll down to these predictions. You'll quickly see which books are offering you the best price. So Fanatics has still got the plus 3.5. Bet Rivers, DraftKings. Again, a lot of books are at 3 though, like Caesars, FanDuel, BetMGM. But to your point, like money line, we do have a smart signal on the Chargers just to win the game. That then becomes a question of, what do you think about this price? Like, at minus 180, you and I have had this conversation before, Cade. Like, what's your high water mark of playing a money line? Because again, if you're playing the Chargers minus 3, they win by 3, you push. You got a bad 3.5, they win by 3, you lose. You play the money line, you win. But if you're bet to risk versus bet to win better, you're risking about a unit, only getting a little bit more than a half unit back. So it becomes a conversation of, what's your risk level? How much do you stand to win? But again, we have to admit that this is a smart signal on the Chargers. And I will add, Cade, like, I'm on the 3.5 right there with you with Carson Wentz. I'm kind of nervous. We got to look at his interception props tonight, because I'm sure he'll do something stupid that'll annoy both you and me. But if you look at Thursday Night Football favorites straight up, they are home favorites straight up, I should say. They're 74% since the start of 2023. So you do see in this short week, typically the home team win. Like even last week where the Bengals came through for us, they weren't a favorite. They were the dog. But again, you were at home in a short week. So maybe that's part of the smart signal that's lighting up here on the Chargers. Let me ask you, Cade, any thoughts on the total? Because I was leaning a little bit toward the under, and I think this is an important test case of not just focusing on the open to current. Like if you have a live odds page where you're looking at a static column that never moves, shows you the opener. Then you got all the books to the right giving you the current prices. If you just look at how this line has moved, it looks like a dead over. Like it opened around 42.5, it's up to 44.5. But if you're able to pull up the complete line history and look at all the moves in between, you'll see that this line actually reached 45 and then came back down to 44.5. So that tells me that there was some respected money hitting the 45, bringing it back down. It is a big contrarian play. Like if you look right now at DraftKings, I believe like 80% of tickets are playing the over. So primetime game, every drunk guy at the bar is playing the over. That gets me excited to go the other way and go under. If you look at Circa, only 22% of bets, but 54% of dollars are on the under. Primetime unders, they're only 13 and 12 this year, but they're 58% since 2019. And if it's a primetime under in a non-conference game, it's 63% since 2019. So I'll lean toward the under. I do like that Rithmm is kind of agreeing with us. You're kind of right on the number, 45.1. This one is 45 even. Again, shop around because I know there's a lot of 44.5s out there, but you do have a 45 at Bet Rivers. And I think there's one other book that might be at 45. But what did you make this number, Cade? Any thoughts on the total here? Or do you have a play on this one?
I'm going to be pretty stingy again with Rithmm a little bit. I leaned under from the very get-go. I thought it was decently pretty high for the injury concerns on Chargers side. I really didn't think that they're going to be able to move the ball, given how good this Vikings defense is. But I'm not playing a full game over. I'm actually doing a team total over. And that is going to be Minnesota's team total of over 20.5 for the price of even money, which I honestly thought was pretty good value. I have them projected to win the game. So the thing with Carson Wentz in this offense right now of where they stand, they've been really impressive ever since that Wentz got kind of just shoved in there, filling in for JJ. In 4 games with him, I mean, their expected score is around 26 points per game, which is crazy for what he's been doing in such a short amount of time, of course. Chargers are right around the league average defense, accounting for like well over 20 points in this game, to be honest with you. So Addison, 4th game back from suspension. Aaron Jones is coming back. 1st game with a full complement of weapons on his offense. To me, that's how I look at it. And obviously, they can run all over this Chargers defense if they wanted to. Jordan Mason, I'm on his over props tonight. I think with Aaron Jones tonight, they kind of use him as their check down screen guy that usually is. Chargers just allow over 6 yards per carry on runs to the left and on runs to the right. So their outside zone concepts are just really, really, really good for people who don't. That's outside zones are anything outside of tackles, FYI. But I mean, if you're looking at like red zone kind of standpoints, they've been very good at finishing drives as well, whether that's getting a field goal or your higher percentage is going to be just flat out scoring touchdowns in the red zone whenever you're in there. But yeah, I like the way that they use these outside zone concepts. I expect them to see them a lot tonight. That's mainly why I'm on Mason's over prop. But yeah, to me, I think that's the safest bet in a total play is going to be a Vikings team total for a good price, I should say.
Yeah, I'm glad you highlighted that because if you look at what the Chargers defense has done recently, I mean, they've given up 27 points or more in 3 straight games. They got rolled by the Colts, 38 points allowed. They gave up 27 to the Dolphins. They probably should have lost that game. They were cruising the whole time. I was happy because I had Dolphins plus, I think they were 3.5. They ended up losing by 2, but they had to score late just to win that game. And then the Commanders, they gave up 27 points as well. And they gave up 21 to the Giants. So again, this is a team that has really gotten shredded here recently. And Carson Wentz, although we got to worry about some turnovers, a lot of the metrics say that he's playing pretty decently. So I like your kind of isolation of that team total. Now, you mentioned a lot of prop bets, so let's see what Rithmm has dialed up for this game. I always like to go to all props. Let's just pull up both teams here. If we look at some quarterbacks, again, I mentioned this last week, but just give me something that's lit up in green. Nothing here. Let's just move on. The one that jumped out to me was the receiving yards because I kind of hinted at this earlier, but there are a few big players to keep an eye out for, and the biggest of them all is Justin Jefferson. This guy has been red hot here recently. You look at 79 against Philly last week, but then he hung over 100 his previous 2 games against Cleveland and Pittsburgh. But what does Rithmm like to do? And I love this because your first glance is like, this is crazy. It's not going to happen. But we've cashed on these tickets recently. This reminds me a little bit of the Puka Nakua Cade from a few weeks ago, but Justin Jefferson to his under. He's always going to be extremely popular in the betting market with casual bettors. You're going to want to play his over. I was reading an article about how I think he's on pace for he's breaking some sort of record in terms of his first 6 years, his production. So the guy's been incredible. But Rithmm is saying, let's fade the hype. Let's go against all this public love for Justin Jefferson, and let's fade a star wide receiver in a primetime game. So you look across the market, Jefferson is at 81.5 receiving yards. You look at Rithmm. Rithmm is predicting 63.4. So you and I always try to look for like 10 yards or more discrepancy between the betting market and what Rithmm is predicting. Well, Rithmm is saying you're upwards of nearly 20 yards difference between the Vegas line and what the prop market and Rithmm is predicting. The other angle here is it's not just a caution flag, is a green star recommended play. It's a sharp under as well. So those sharp unders, smart signals, we love them because it's not just a prediction, but it's a prediction based upon fitting a specific set of criteria. So in this spot, Rithmm has tracked 84 bets in this specific yards with the under, the distance to market, and the price, and it's a 58% hit rate. So you'd have to think Harbaugh, he's no dummy. You're probably going to want to take out at least Jefferson. And again, the old adage of let's not let the best player beat us. Jefferson's getting a ton of love in the betting market, but Rithmm is saying it's actually a fade opportunity. So any thoughts on this one, Cade? Are you going to ride this under 81.5 for Jefferson, or maybe some other props that we'll get to here in a second?
Yeah, I'm not playing it, but I do have other props, like you said. But to case in point, Jefferson's been getting a lot of attention these last few weeks. They know they have to get their playmakers the ball. Specifically when Addison was out, I think was the biggest part of that. Now that you have him back, now that you have Aaron Jones back, I think there's a lot more options out there for ones to kind of look for. And that's pretty much where I would probably lean is the under, because the Chargers know that they're going to have to limit him. First of all, they're not going to go into this game blind knowing that, yeah, we're playing against him, but we're not really going to do anything about it. But to me, I think this is more Jordan Addison slot game and Aaron Jones check down game kind of thing. Maybe I'd like to see Hawkinson get involved a little bit more, but I don't really know how much because he's been kind of a ghost. But yeah, I think that number's a little bit inflated given the fact that they have that many guys back. So I like that. I like that number.
Yeah, again, you had me at star receiver under. I mean, we can just kind of narrow it down to that. But I would also mention this was a Rithmm prediction from the Monday night game where the Lions took care of the Bucks. And I remember Rithmm tweeted out, again, you got to follow at Rithmm. I think it's at Rithmm_AI on Twitter. Great information all day that they tweet out. So shout out to Megan and Brian and the whole crew there. But they were highlighting Amon-Ra St. Brown under 7.5 catches. And that was one of the most heavily bet over catches. And he landed on 6. So that was a star signal play that came through. He had a big night, and he caught like the first couple of catches of the game. Like, ooh, this is getting a little bit nervous. But again, full game, he was able to go under. There's a couple guys, and I love that Rithmm does this, focusing on not just the star players, but some supplementary guys that might not be getting a ton of attention. So there's 2 receivers here for the Vikings that have some really good green star recommendations. So Adam Thielen, the guy's older than dirt, but he's still out there making catches, Cade. But this is a prop where you can go over 6.5 receiving yards. That's not a lot. That is just an in-cut boom. Thielen, you cash this over. Reminds me a little bit of the Freiermuth one from last week. Remember, that was over 14.5. Rithmm predicted nearly 34. He had 111. Thielen is a guy where if you are the Chargers, you're going to try to stop Jefferson. Now you got to worry about Addison. You got to worry about Hawkinson. Aaron Jones is back. Thielen's a guy who's probably going to go up against, I don't know, their third or fourth corner. He's not fast like he used to be, but he's a savvy, smart route runner. Over 6.5 feels very, very low. You can get a little bit of plus money, but this is incredible. Rithmm is predicting 37.5 receiving yards. You are, again, we were talking 10 yards or more, 20 yards or more. This is nearly 32 yards more than his predicted betting market number. So again, he hasn't produced a ton recently, but that is a very low number. And again, I really don't mind going over there with Thielen, especially with a recommended smart signal. And another guy, Josh Oliver, tight end behind Hawkinson. Can he just get you 1 catch for 4 yards? Extremely low number, but a recommended green star play. and he's predicted for around 14. So, Cade, can I interest you in Adam Thielen or Josh Oliver overs here?
I love it. Yeah, specifically Thielen. I've always been a big fan of that guy. So I hope he doesn't turn into just a filler kind of guy. But I'd like to see him make some noise. That'd be nice to see.
Absolutely. Let me just see interceptions because I'm just curious for my own weird thought process. Because Carson Wentz,
It's
again,
so juiced.
he's probably going to throw a pick. He's going to make us scream. Over a half, -140. You know it's always bad when they're juicing up your over on a pick. Like,
pretty bad.
again, and maybe it's not his fault. Something gets tipped. I'll be personally rooting he doesn't throw one because that'll crush our +3.5.
Of course.
But Wentz, Herbert as well. He's probably going to get blitzed a lot. Does he, bail out and throw a ball that gets picked? Both of those over half picks or I guess his is a little bit juiced under, but still those are available with some good rhythm edges. Okay, let's keep on cruising, man. I want to get your thoughts on the Packers and the Steelers because this is probably my favorite game upcoming this weekend, and I'm going to take the points with the king. And I know you and me are alike. We like these betting systems. The king of underdogs, Mr. Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin as a favorite. We mentioned this last week when you were going to the game. You don't want to play Tomlin when he's a favorite because he's well below 500, but you love Tomlin when he can do the rah-rah, get everyone going. We're an underdog. They don't believe in us. So I like the Steelers this week. This actually is a line that it's moving, which makes me happy because I already got a +3.5, but it's scaring me a bit if people are late to the party because you better jump on the Steelers right now. It's your Sunday night game. You're getting this line opening at -3. It briefly went up to -3.5 with Green Bay. Now you're getting back down to 3, and the juice is on the Steelers side, looking like it's going to fall to 2.5, or at least it's juiced that way. And if you look at some of the bet splits, right now at circa only half the tickets, but 79% of the money is on the Steelers plus the points. And here's the kicker. Not only is this a primetime dog with the Steelers, but you're also a Mike Tomlin dog play. Tomlin as a dog, 64-34 against the spread in the regular season, 65%. He's covering basically 2/3 of the time when he's getting points. And when he's off a loss, he's 60-44 against the spread, 58%. And then you look at the Steelers where they rest versus tired. They played Thursday. Packers played Sunday on the road at Arizona. Second straight road game for the Packers. Steelers have those 3 extra days since playing on Thursday. I love the points here. And again, it's not a green star play, but they're both on the Steelers. One is Steelers point plus 1.7, and one is Steelers plus 1.3. And again, if you shop around, there might be a 3. I guess a lot of 3.5s are now gone. But man, I think it's a classic primetime Steelers dog play. So, Cade, what do you think? Are you going Tomlin dog with me here?
Yeah, I got Steelers +3.5 -110 at ESPN earlier this week. The thing with, and apologies Packers fans in advance, but whenever you guys play a defensive line unit with a pulse, your quarterback just wants to fold like an omelet, apparently. He's dead last.
Yeah, remember the Browns? They lost straight up. Yeah, to Garrett. Yeah.
It was bad. It was not pretty. Yeah, Jordan Love is dead last with a 34.5 completion percentage under pressure. And against the blitz, he's been a little bit better, but that's because he hasn't been pressured much this year. Granted, his O-line has actually done a decent job. I think they're top 10 in best clean pocket rate in the league so far. But again, the only D-line that they've played with a decent pass rush is Cleveland. And Steelers are going to be near the middle of the league in terms of pressures, but they're second in pass rush win rate and 5th in blitz frequency. So to me, this is going to come down to Green Bay's ability to protect Love. In recent weeks, honestly, it's been pretty tough, especially with another team who's got severe injuries to their O-line. So Jordan Morgan, I think, is the guy who was the only guy that I seen on the report who had a full practice. And then you have other starters. You have Aaron Banks. You have Zach Tom also dealing with injuries. And yeah, I think those are the only ones that I saw the report that are looking out. But yeah, that's 3 of your 5 right there that are already in a big question bubble. So I just don't trust it against the Steelers pass rush. Coming off of a loss, coming back home, it's a grudge match. It's his, I don't want to say homecoming. It would be technically the opposite of that. But Packers are also still without Jaden Reed, and I'm hearing some rumor of Jacobs also being either limited or out. I don't know what that deal is there. But yeah, Green Bay's defense is also sliding, so particularly against the run. And last week, that Warren over rushing receiving prop was probably the easiest prop I've ever seen in my life. And I was silently cheering when that guy broke out for some runs as I had it. So yeah, I'll take
Attaboy.
Steelers with the points and give them outright.
Yeah, and to your point, outright, boom, we got a smart signal
Beauty.
money line here on the Steelers. You can get them around plus 135, plus 140. Again, we're looking at basically, again, I mentioned a second ago about a 1-point spread. So I think this also depends on, did you play the game yet? Versus, again, like you and I, we got the hook plus 3.5 earlier in the week. Boom. To me, I'm just sitting there saying we're getting closing line value. Maybe this thing even closes 2.5. I think if it gets down to 2.5, you could maybe tease up the Steelers if you want, 2.5 up to 8.5. If you're bold, you can go money line here. But it's always nice when there is a betting move. And maybe to your point with all these injuries, which is maybe why we're seeing those hooks gone. We're seeing the juice on the Steelers side, like it may get down to 2.5. But again, if you want to be a little bit bold, you do have a money line, Green Star recommended play, smart signal to see if Rodgers can win this game outright. So that one definitely is notable. One more at you because I got to get you a gross one here, Cade. I'm looking at the Bills and the Carolina Panthers, and this one it's pretty gross. It's a hazmat play. Call me crazy. I like the points with Carolina. It was backed up here by some predictions with Rithmm, but what I like about this one is the public is saying they're not giving up on the Bills. Now, the Bills started great. They've lost a couple in a row. They're coming off a bye. Public says, hey, they're ready to go. They're going to get back on track. They're going to roll here. However, even though you're getting nearly 80% of bets on Buffalo, the line is starting to fall back toward Carolina. Like a lot of books open Buffalo minus 7.5. A lot of those 7.5s are down to 7. That's notable to me because if you look at where the betting market is, again, public's on the Bills. You would think they should maybe go up to -8, -8.5. But no, it's starting to fall. A lot of these books are going down to 7. You look at the splits here, only 20% of bets on Carolina. It's a very, very contrarian play. And the big dogs, the big ones that are getting 6.5 points or more, they're 17-13 against the spread this year, 57%. They're 56% against the spread since 2022. Josh Allen, it's not like the Patriots game, but in the standpoint of, yeah, the Pats won that game outright, that Sunday night game in Buffalo at Orchard Park. But this is just a big number for Josh Allen, where he typically wins these games but doesn't always cover. He is only 17-19 against the spread. That's only 47% when he's favored by 7 or more. Now, it looks like it's going to be Andy Dalton. Dalton in his career is actually 54% against the spread as a dog. I did see a clip on Twitter where Bryce Young, I think he has an ankle injury, but he did go out to practice. But then on the practice report, they said he didn't participate. So I don't know. Maybe it's mind games. Maybe it's just going to be Dalton. Maybe Bryce Young plays. I'm not really sure. But either way, I took the plus 7.5 here with the Panthers. They are predicted plus 6.8 with the first Rithmm model, second Rithmm model plus 6.6. So you're almost getting a full point there off of the current price. But again, you got to get the hook. This is a lose by 7, covered by the 7.5. A lot of books are down to 7. You can still get FanDuel, Bet Rivers, Fanatics 7.5. Kate, any thoughts on this one? Do the Bills roll after the bye week, or does Carolina, whether it's Dalton or Young, hopefully lose by 7 or less?
I've counted this week. There are 8 games with a number of 6 or higher on a spread, which in this league is ridiculous. And I don't think I've ever bet an NFL spread of 7 or higher in my entire life. And I don't think I'm going to start now. I'm with you on the Panthers at 7.5. They've had a pretty stellar rushing attack recently. They have Rico Dowdle, who is just emerging as incredible. And yeah, I think Chuba is back this week, in which you have a pretty much really good duo now with both of them back. But again, going back to this Bills defense, what do? They struggle against the run. It's the worst in the NFL. I think that they're picking up steam. I think it can be one of those teams where the Panthers kind of shock one of these juggernauts in the NFL and pretty much just upset him. I don't really know if that actually is the case where this happens in this, for the sake of the pod or of the show. Why not? I'll might sprinkle it. Maybe. I think one of these big spread loses this outright this week. I just don't know who because there's so many. But yeah, I mean, they've played fairly well, particularly at home. I mean, they're 3-0 against the spread there. Bills are coming off a bye, obviously, like you said, but the offenses, they've been vulnerable. And depending on Josh Allen, and I don't like it, I just think it's closer than a lot of people think. I think Buffalo has been overvalued all season long, and we were right on them against the Pats. Similar spot here in this case to me. So yeah, I'll take my chance with the 7.5.
Yeah, big number again. That stat I threw out earlier. You're looking at these 6.5 or more dogs covering. What did I say? I don't know. I think it was 57% of the time this year, 56% of the time since 2022. So that's a pretty big sample.
Yeah.
And again, if you're looking at the bet splits here, one thing that jumped out to me, they're very contrarian. No one wants to play Carolina. At DraftKings, only 20% of bets. But if you look at Circa, the Carolina Panthers are only getting 16% of spread bets, but 47% of spread dollars. So that's a pretty good split out in Vegas, caters to sharp players. So there's an opportunity here, I think, if you can get that hook still, which should be available. Maybe you take a 7.5 there, which is what I'm doing with the Carolina Panthers. Now, there's a couple college games, Cade, and then you got to remind us what you're going to do with this college game here for tonight, because you're the king of these overlooked college games where I kick myself and say, why didn't I listen to Cade? So I want to hear your college game tonight. But real quick, there's two big games that jumped out to me. The most intriguing one is Ole Miss and Oklahoma, because right now it's a number one. Why is this a noon game? You should give me 8 o'clock at night, 7 o'clock. Like this should be one of your primetime games, but it's still one of the most heavily bet games of the weekend. And the public thinks this line is way too high. So Ole Miss is 6-1. They're ranked 8th overall in the country. Oklahoma's 6-1, ranked 13th. So two really good teams. But if you look at the way the betting market is shaping up for this one, Cade, again, the public is just absolutely hammering Ole Miss. They think this is a game that should be way closer. And Ole Miss is becoming a very trendy dog. They're getting 75% of spread bets at DraftKings. So the public is all over Ole Miss, but the betting line is moving toward Oklahoma. Oklahoma opened at a lot of books as low as, minus 4.5. I think some books, correct me if I'm wrong, Cade, some books open like 2.5, 3.5, like even lower than that. Now you're all the way up to 5.5. This is a classic system play for me. Heavily bet game. Everyone's on the dog. Line's moving further toward the favorite. I think there was a game we talked about a few weeks ago. I think it was USC Michigan, where same sort of thing happened, where everyone was on Michigan road dog. Line moved toward USC home favorite. But what I really like about this one, not only is it super contrarian, because again, you're only getting, I think 25% of tickets coming in at DraftKings on Ole Miss. And if you also look at Circa, on Oklahoma, you're also getting a really good split at Circa on the Sooners as well. And if you look in this spot, laying the points, two ranked teams take the home favorite. They are covering 60% of the time since 2016. But this is the kicker, man. If you're ready for this, I know you already noticed this, but let's go to college football and let's plug in Oklahoma and hold on to your butts for you Jurassic Park fans out there. Wait until you see this one. Let me just dial it up again. But the rhythm prediction for the Sooners, again, remember, everyone's on Ole Miss. Line's going to the Sooners. At least one recommended green star play. Oklahoma minus 8.5. Let's go. Oklahoma minus 9.1. I can't wait to sweat this one. Again, I wish it was a 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock game. But what do you think, Cade? Lay the points here with Oklahoma. This smells like a Sooners play to me.
This game is so funny to me because I've said in our podcast, it's Hammer Time Podcast on Apple and Spotify, by the way, we've basically said, I don't think Ole Miss is a top 15 team within the next 3 to 4 weeks or whatever. They've played decent teams for the most part. And yes, I'll give them a couple of credit. They've won against a few of those, but Georgia was a tough game. That was obviously a tough game to win in. But now you get into the thick of your schedule and you're arguably playing maybe a, dare I say, better team, honestly. I mean, this is one of those games where it's like an elimination game for the playoff. So both are one-loss teams. pivotal SEC in terms of conference championship look at it. And they run the ball, Ole Miss runs the ball over half of their offensive plays. The thing is, Oklahoma, the defense allows 2.3 yards per carry. You got issues. That's the second best in the country. I'm tired of people underrating this defense. I've screamed down people's throats. This is probably the best defense in college football, week in and week out. And yet they're still disrespecting them. You have a young quarterback at Ole Miss who is very talented. I will say, this is not an easy environment. I think this is the downfall for them. I do like Ole Miss at -4.5. I did have them in a two-legger of a money line parlay that I put in with them and SMU, just because I think that they both win. But I did also take Oklahoma. I haven't took the 4.5 yet, though. But I think I needed an extra opinion because we filmed our podcast episode last night and I had a couple of my guys on and I'm like, okay, taking my notes, whatever, check. Do the Thursday show, and I think this was the hammer spot. So yeah, I think you can count me in and put it on the board for Oklahoma -5.5. I think I'll dab in here.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And again, this to me, when I'm looking at games, I'm trying to come up with some sort of quick breakdown of what it is. Either it's, hey, a Tomlin dog spot, primetime dog with line movement. It's a reverse line move play like the Panthers. It's a rhythm system match play. It's a fade the trendy dog. This is a fade the trendy dog like you read about, because again, the public loves betting favorites. Just psychologically, if you're an average Joe bettor, you're going to want to bet the better team, and the better team is going to be the favored team. So the odds makers know this. They're going to shade the line toward the popular teams. That's why going the other way, betting these gross teams, is usually the more valuable spot. And when you are getting 75% of tickets on the dog and the line's going toward the favorite, and then cherry on top, Rithmm says you're getting a really, like, 5.5 scares you, but then you got to remember 6 is a key number. You win by 6 or more. Again, I jumped on 4.5 earlier, but still 5.5. I'll play it based on this really good edge there. That's a full 3-point edge in favor of Oklahoma. So auto bet for me, Sooners. And you're totally right. The defense is what jumps out. You look at Oklahoma right now. They are only giving up, 10.5 points per game, second best in college football. Ole Miss is giving up 22.6 points per game. That ranks 43rd. So again, this is just a data play where masses are going, public here with Ole Miss. Lines going toward the Sooners. Give me the Sooners. So I love that. Let's finish up here. One last play I want to ask you about, because it's near and dear to my heart, Cade. There's another one that I love. BYU and Iowa State. Cade, anytime I get an unranked team with a line move, public's on the ranked team, lines going to the unranked team, that's an auto bet for me. So this Iowa State game is really interesting because BYU is coming in with a great record. BYU is 7-0, undefeated, ranked 11th. Iowa State is 5-2. They've lost 2 in a row. This is a great opportunity to buy low, in my opinion, on Iowa State. And it's not a huge Rithmm recommendation here, because if you look at the way this line is moved, a lot of books opened mostly Iowa State -1.5. That's notable, though, because even with home field, why is the 5-2 team unranked, lost 2 in a row, favored over the undefeated ranked team? Like, if this opened BYU -1, -2, I think the public would love that, even, maybe the same. But public's all over BYU, nearly 70% of bets. Lions going to Iowa State, -1.5, now up to -2.5. This spot, that unranked home fave versus ranked opponent on the money line, is winning 65% of the time since 2017. That's a 4% ROI. So I played Iowa State on the money line at -140-ish. And when you look at the recommendations, they both are BYU, but check out the spread. Rhythm's predicting +2.6. Rithmm is predicting +1.8. Again, you got to think through some of these things, because if I'm going money line, that actually excites me. I just got to win by 1. Rithmm says it should be around 2.5. What are your thoughts on this one? Am I, overlooking BYU? There's also a off a bye. You have a rested off a bye with Ole Miss, whereas BYU has played a lot of these really tough games against rivalry games. They played Utah and just edged them. I love this money line, unranked home fave versus ranked opponent. Cade, can your boy Rocco Becht play well and get me a win this weekend?
I'm so torn on this game, dude, because I mean, again, another game that we tried to hit on really hard last night as well. I'm I hate Rocco Becht with everything in me. After the month of October, I feel like this guy just completely just loses all hope in humanity and just forgets how to play the game of football. Same thing for Matt Campbell. I don't know if he knows how to coach in October after that. But this BYU team, I'm so ready for them to lose because we do this every year with them. I mean, we did it last year. And then again, we made them underdogs. I forget which game it was. I think it might have been a Colorado game. And then they ended up winning that outright. But either way, same situation again with this. I love Sataki. I love what he does for this school and for the program. But the spot just screams Iowa State. Like I can't get off the fact. And it sucks because I started out with Iowa State -2.5. I bought out of -2.5 because I was honestly just so skeptical. I felt like I needed to do a little bit more. Coming to last night, we filmed last night. Dylan and Jake are both on BYU at 3.5, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So overall, I think I'm probably going to pass on this game. Maybe even look for something live. It's the most situational spot on the board. It's arguably the biggest Big 12 game of the year against Arizona. They trailed by 10 in the fourth quarter, and they tied the game on a last second touchdown, which was oh my god, aided by penalties and an incredibly lucky fumble recovery. You will never guess who had Arizona in that game, by the way. This guy's yeah. They followed up with a 3-point win in the Holy War the week after that, which was just last week. And did they deserve it? Sure, but post-win expectancy, they were not predicted to win that game, like almost at all for that matter. Additionally, this is their 6th game in 6 weeks over a stretch that started with a trip to the East Coast and then followed by another road game in Colorado for another close win. So, yes, they're a real competitor and they're a real contender for the Big 12. But to me, this is just one of those kind of prove it games. If you had like the potential flat spot, like come out just dead, this is the game. Like this is like your game. Like, and for me, I have Big 12 tickets for Texas Tech. I have Big 12 tickets for Arizona State. This game, I need them to lose this game. So for that matter, I'll root for Iowa State. I praying that they actually finally get it together and do something with it. But overall, I think I'm just gonna have to somehow enjoy this game. But I just can't put money on either side with it.
Hey, that's totally cool, man. You put out a great example explainer, your case there, which I totally respect. To me, it's one of those gross plays that you learn to love, and I think you really nailed it in terms of the situational spot. So right now, it is the most heavily bet game. I have access to at least one piece of information that gives me ticket counts. This is the most heavily bet game. Public's on BYU. Lines moving to Iowa State. You mentioned BYU with a really tough schedule, a lot of travel. They've eked out a lot of these games, which might take a lot out of you. And then let's just sell high on BYU and let's buy low on Iowa State, who's rested off a bye, 2 losses. I think you're probably going to get their best effort here. So I'll go money line. But again, you made a lot of great cases too. Maybe reasons why you're laying off or you have futures that kind of go against it. But I'll be all Cyclones here, Cade. So let's see if we can get an Iowa State win. But that about does it, guys. So another Rithmm Rundown here in the books. I just want to kind of recap here as our guy Parker always likes us to do. A quick rundown of our plays. So I know it's a tough one. I'm going to go Vikes plus 3.5 here for tonight. Got the Steelers plus 3.5 earlier this week. Looks like 3 is your best number now. Panthers are a gross one for me, plus 7.5. Oklahoma got -4.5. It's now up to 5.5. And the Iowa State money line. And we did hit on some of those prop bets as well with the overs with Thielen, the overs with that backup tight end, and then the fade, the big popular guy with Justin Jefferson going under, I think it was 82.5. But Cade, give me your plays here upcoming for the weekend, or at least your favorite ones.
Yeah, Vikings plus 3.5 once again. Have them outright on the money line. Couple of props for that. Jordan Mason's over 49.5 rushing. I have Oronde Gadsden's over receiving yards. It was a little bit of an overlooked tight end. let me see. There was a couple of other ones that I did want to. Oh yeah, Vikings team total, of course, and then
Good one.
again I brought back the first touchdown scores. So I know we didn't hit one last week, but I'm hoping to get hot again. So I'll try my best here. So I'm gonna go Hawkinson, and then I'm gonna go with Carson Wentz. I'm hoping for a QB sneak here. Value is insane, 45-1, and then I'm gonna play a little bit on Gadsden as well. So yeah, those are my 3 first touchdown scores. But again, for Saturday, what are the games we just went over? Panthers plus 7.5. Ringing a bell.
Oh, Steelers are with me right there, right?
Steelers are money line, have them outright, and then passed on Iowa State, but Oklahoma minus 4.5 / 2-leg money line parlay with them and SMU. So those are highlights. So well, of course, I'll have a much more slate, but yeah.
Sounds good to me, man. All sharp plays. I just want to remind everyone before we get out of here, I forgot to mention at the beginning, but tell your friends about Rithmm. Again, Rithmm is such a great tool for sports bettors because you can approach it in different ways. You can just play the smart signals. You can use a little bit of your own methodology and then use Rithmm as a cherry on top. But I love doing what I like to do, and you know this by now, Cade. Let's look at what the betting market is telling us, and then if Rithmm can, kind of come from the top rope and agree with me and say this is a sharp play like that Oklahoma one. I love having that second layer of confidence when I'm placing a bet. But reminder, you can get 25% off with the promo code START25. We have our Refer a Friend program, which is awesome because you're going to get 50% off your first month, or they'll get 50% off. You'll get a free month. And then just remember, we have this awesome leaderboard contest. I see the Rithmm Twitter account put this out every week. This person got $1,000. This person got 600. This person got 400. So congrats to everyone who has cash. But remember, it costs you nothing to enter these contests, and you could win up to $1,000 each week that Rithmm pays out. So you can check out the details. You can do it for the NFL. You can do it for college football. But there's some great free contests to join. And then remember, all you Discord people out there, great opportunity to talk to and communicate with other Rithmm sharps like yourself. So, Cade, good luck tonight, my man. Have a great week, and we will be right back at it next week for another edition of the Rithmm Rundown. But good luck, everybody. Cash your tickets, and don't be getting into these poker games with the mafia, Cade. All right? You stay away from those. You're going to get in trouble. We need you on the show, not getting involved in this stuff. So keep your nose clean, all right, buddy?
Try my best here. I know the Italians, they want me really bad. I make a good pasta, so we'll hopefully stay away.
Attaboy. All right, everybody. Have a great night, and we'll see you next week. Take care.